Well, my son got the better of me. He didn't like the engine bay because it wasn't glossy enough or whatever, so I ended up pulling it apart and doing a bit of a paint job underneath. I'll show you how it looks now. If anything, could be a little bit too bloody glossy now. But it's definitely got a nice gloss on it all now with the two-back black. So now we're up at the stage where we're waiting on to get the car up to the spray booth and get that all sorted out. I ended up pulling all this apart again, taking everything out of it, take the bonnet and the hinges and everything off and the bolts out of it, and ended up doing the whole thing. I just didn't do the cross member because that's only the satin black, so I left it that and just put the gloss on the around the engine bay. So that's all done, ready to go. Got the boot on, that's all ready, nothing else to be done in there. It's just painted inside so we can pull it off and just do one side when we spray it. I've just been putting the doors and the guards back on and lining up all the body lines so that make sure they all match, and doing all the final fits to make sure everything's going to be right when we finally get the colour in there and put it back together again. Because I've got to line up all these body lines here so that I get the stripes right, which is going to be a bit of a task, I think, to get the stripes okay in it. But anyway, that's about as far as we're up to at the moment. This would probably be the next start of the next series, but nothing very much has happened, so I'll let you know when it does. See ya. Unfortunately, still can't show you when you paint. COVID restrictions buggered that up, so I've just been filling in with doing all sorts of little bits and pieces so that when I finally get it painted I can reassemble it pretty quick without actually having to do too much work with the bits and pieces and the stuff going to bolt back onto it. I'll show you what we've got so far. Yesterday was a starter motor, so that just got pulled apart. Nothing exciting about that, except the brushes were about probably halfway down, which really don't need to be replaced yet. So I just cleaned everything up, and then I did a bit of a zinc job on the back here and tidied it up, the nuts and bolts and the screws and the cover. So that's all ready to go. As well as that, I got some interior parts out the other day, and they're all done for the rear vision mirrors. The screws have been replated, and what I discovered when I pulled them apart, there's a little plastic seal that goes into that hole there, and they're completely destroyed. They're plastic and they're brittle, and the idea is they're meant to actually clamp onto the rod on the sun visor and sort of spin it without turning. So they've got little positioners and things in the where it goes into the bracket. So I didn't realise they were in there, so I had a look online, and sure enough you can get them online. So I've ordered a couple of those, and the screws are done, that's done, the rear vision is done. The rear vision mirror, if anybody knows whether you can get the mirrors reconditioned, because it's got sort of black marks on the outside edges. If anybody knows anything about that, drop us a little message to say yep, somebody can recondition them, because I've looked online for another one, but all the ones you see online are just as bad or actually worse than that one, and they're asking silly money for them. So I I wasn't going to buy another second-hand one. I'll try and get this one done, otherwise I'll just live with that. It's not too bad. The car hasn't changed. I got the bonnet and the boot back on again because I took them off and tidied a couple of bits and pieces up again. They're all looking really nice. I had a little run just down here when I did that, redid that paintwork, I should say redid, because my son didn't like it so much, and I actually rubbed the run out of it and polished it up, and it came up really nice. So I didn't think I could sort of polish too much around areas like that inside, but I've got a buff here that I've had for about bloody 40 years, and I've got a foam pad that goes in there, and they're really forgiving. The foam pad, they don't bite into things, so that was all quite handy. I had to do a back parcel tray because when I replaced these sections actually should have had a hole in there for the plugs to hold it down. There should be 4 plugs along the back, and I had no plugs there at all, but the new board I was going to put in obviously would have had some plugs for it, so I've had to drill the holes in the panel and make up a template for that. So that's all made, and the hole in the middle for that single dual speaker that I've got. The piece that was in there was actually rubbish, which I've thrown out. So I'm going to start from scratch and make a new one of those. I'll make up the board, get the hole cut, drill the holes in it so it matches my holes when I plug it together again. And the trimmer, when he does my seats, I'm going to get him to put some black roebuck, it's meant to be, on the back here, so he can actually reupholster that after I cut the holes in it, so that'll make it easy for him. Nothing else done in the back, that's all the same. I've actually got the doors back on now. It's not going to come apart again until it goes to the spray booth. I've got the doors on and I've got all these lined up, and that way I know for a fact when I get up there I can put some pinstriping on it and do the black pinstripe that goes through the middle of the body. So that's all done. The other thing I've been fiddling with was the trims, the door trims. I'll just get one out and I'll show you. These were trims made by Winner Products in Adelaide, and they're really nice. Okay, so they're the nice GDS trims, which really are a nice, get that out of the way. They really are a really nice reproduction. Everything's done properly. What I had to do was, when you get the trims, they don't have the GDS badge on them. They can put them on, but mine were okay, so I decided to take mine off my door trims and put the original badge on here. But they didn't come with holes in them, so I've managed to measure up the other ones and put them on. But when you go to put them on, you realise that the padding they got in here is nice, and it's probably the way it's meant to be, but it's probably better than the original Holden stuff, and it's fairly firm. And to get those pins all the way through that backing and get the little clips on the back, it was a real push. I actually rang the manufacturers and let them know that I think the padding's too much in there because I can't get the original trims back on. And he assured me that yes, you can, you've just got to push them really hard. So that's exactly what I've done. And what I ended up doing with these ones is turning them upside down and placing the badge on a board on the bench, and I used that, and that was to go over the pin and push those little clips in. Those clips are the original ones off the car, but when you get them off the car you need to actually bend them back into shape again so they're pretty well flat, and that way when they hang onto that, it hangs on pretty tight. So that's the door trims from Winner Products. Well, that's their little label there. There's a bit of free advertising for them. The door trims themselves are really, really nice, really well done. They don't come with the clips or anything in it, and they don't come with these things cut out either, so I have to cut those out or just put a hole through them. I can do that shortly. I'm not going to do too much of that until the car's back and I can sit it on the car. The rear door trims are just the same. They're just the same. I'll just get one of them out here. I'm trying to get one out. Okay. The rear door trims just the same, really good quality. They leave plenty of overhang on the ends there to go in the back of the wheel arch, and also a little bit on the front here to go around the front, around the doorway. And once again, they don't take the holes out for the ashtray, which I've got here. I was just going to look at those today and try and cut that. I'm a little bit reluctant to cut that, but it'll have to be cut. And for the door handles as well, and the seat belt up the top there. But once again, I had a lot of thought about getting these because the door trims in the car were fairly good, and when I got the prices of these I thought, well, that's a bit expensive. But when you look at if you look at a redone car with a nice paint job, I think there'd be nothing nicer than a nice brand new trim inside. So even though you pay the money for it, it's a really good quality trim. I don't even know how they do that. It looks exactly the same as the original, all these plastic strips that go in there, and they're actually all moulded on. So excellent job. Anyway, that's about all we got at the moment. I'll do a little bit of cutting on those and get the ashtrays in, I think. And that's all that's happening. So we'll have to still wait until I can get to the spray booth, and I'm hoping that's going to be within a couple of weeks. I hope. We'll see what happens. I'll be back when I've got more to show you. See ya. Back again. Today we're doing a few more little bits and pieces that while we're waiting to do the paintwork. Today I've been playing with the petrol tank, and when I say playing with it, it was really just a matter of cleaning everything up because it's all in pretty good nick, except around this area, all the way around it, whereas 6 into the car had heaps and heaps and heaps of grey mastic. So we've cleaned all that out. I just cleaned the inside of the thing up with just a bit of thinners and a bit of Prepsol to clean the galvanising, not galvanising, zinc. Underneath it was sort of raw, so what I did, I cleaned it and then I scotched it, and then I put a coat of acrylic lacquer, some satiny sort of stuff on top of that, so that underneath the car it should stay sort of clean, because it's just an acrylic lacquer under there. But luckily the tank's in good nick. It won't be where it falls off these chairs, but anyway. There was only one thing that I noticed. There was only one thing I noticed when I was looking at the tank, or when it was in the car. I noticed that the gauge was a little bit hairy. It used to move around a little bit. And what I discovered here when I pulled the gauge out is that the spade connector here for the sender is only riveted through that plate with a bit of Bakelite either side, and the spade connector on the top here was actually moving, so spinning. So that wasn't a real good connection with this one here, which is connection to the little variable resistor that's in here. So if you're getting a little bit of funny things happening with your gauge up and down, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, have a quick look at that and see if the spade connector is actually moving side to side. If it is, it's not a real good connection. So just solder it. They're both brass, and that might help you get out of a problem with it. And that's it. So that's the petrol tank ready to go. I'll just put the gauge back into it, that's all good. And there's no loose stuff inside. It's all been dry now because it's been sitting for a couple of months. It's all quite dry inside, so, and there's no rattly bits and pieces in there, no rust and no nothing, so it's good. We'll just put it straight in and it'll be fine. Okay, I'll talk to you later.